I bought this over MSRP. So right now, these cars are hard to get. It's a fun car. I like it a lot. It's fun to drive. It's got great inputs. I have a S2000 that I've taken to the track, done autocross with. It's fun. I like this car in the sense that it kind of fills that need, but yet it's a newer version. Just the problem with most new cars is that they're just hard to get inventory of, and so I had reached out to a couple of dealerships that had listings, but what happens is that a lot of dealers or the manufacturers will put cars on like local classifieds, even though the cars really are sold. So the cars are already claimed by a customer who put like a deposit down at the dealership, and then they will still show them on the website as available, even on the dealer's website, but yet when you call, it's like, oh, well, actually this car is reserved for someone. So, and that's true for a lot of cars out there, but especially like enthusiast type cars. And so in looking for a vehicle, I looked at like Civic SIs, you know, the GR Corolla is interesting, but it's not out yet. And I just kind of wanted something that was fun to drive and could potentially replace the S2000. So it's kind of cool hawk out there in the field. Anyway, so I had reached out to the dealership and put a deposit down, and I got a call within a week saying, hey, we got a car coming. It's a white base model manual. Because when I spoke with them, I said, main thing I care about has got to be a manual transmission. I'm not doing automatic in this car. And so, but I was like, as far as colors go, I really like the Neptune blue. I think that's a common one that people tend to like. Didn't really want black. I think the red's actually pretty good. I'm not really a red kind of fan. It's not bad. The Torino blue is not my favorite. I actually saw this car and drove this car in gray. They had an automatic at the same dealership that was in gray, and it looks good in gray actually. I think gray's a little played out these days, but I did like it on this car. But and there's so many white cars out there. It's like everybody's go-to these days. But that said, I do think this car looks good in white. It's not your traditional white. It is, I don't know, it's kind of just with the fleck and that they have in it, I think it looks good. So so that's why when they said they had a white one, there's a little premium that you pay for getting that white color, but I was like, I'll take it, I like it. And mainly it was I wanted the base actually, and then it's the manual transmission. So with that, so the dealership, they are charging over MSRP, as most dealerships are. And so I didn't know how much it was going to be. Initially, they said, well, initially they wanted to do like $5,000. And I was like, I'm not paying $5,000 over MSRP for this car. And I was like, look, I bought other cars from their dealership. My wife's minivan, we bought from their company of dealerships. We have financed with Toyota in the past, and there was a few things that we were able to kind of negotiate with, to where they only charged me $2,000 over sticker, but they did that with instead of paying just straight over MSRP, they threw in like a paint protection film. So it's like a clear bra that they put on the front bumper, a portion of the fenders, and a portion of the hood. I paid a little extra to have the headlights done, the full hood, and then they tinted the windows, and there's a 5-year like glass replacement for free. So that does not add up to $2,000, but in my mind I felt like, okay, it kind of made it easier to swallow. So, but the problem is in the market now, and this is summer 2022, is that to get a car, you can get one now, but you're going to pay a premium. There are dealerships who you only have to pay MSRP, and I feel like when reading on all the forums and online, it's like everybody's like, oh, I'll never pay over MSRP. And while I agree with that premise, You just might be waiting 6 months for a car, maybe less, maybe 3 months for some. And actually, I kind of got lucky. But generally, the rules, it's if you want a car now, you're gonna have to pay premium for it. Otherwise, you may have to wait a while to get that vehicle at MSRP. So the same is going to be true for when the GR Corolla comes out, the new Civic Type R, even Civic SIs now. You're going through a lot of that, and there's other enthusiast cars out there aside from those Supras and whatnot. But that's what, in my mind, it validated it for me. So when I spoke to the dealership, this was in early April that they called and said they got the car. I said, yeah, let's go for it. And that was early April, and I got it at the end of May. So it was roughly 2 months for me to get the vehicle, which was kind of nice. I've heard of other ones taking a lot longer than that, so I was happy to get the car. So in my mind, I think you'll have to weigh out what makes sense for you. In looking at this car, so there's different ways to kind of find the value, but all the ones that I've seen locally in my market selling, they're going for around 40 grand. They've had automatic premiums going for 40. They've had base models going for 40 as well. I think having a premium color and a stick shift helps with that. So, like, my point being, my out-the-door price is thousands less than what I think it could sell for in the market today. The market could change and that gap could go away, but I think if worst case scenario, if I had to sell the car because the proverbial financial bus hit me, I think we'd be okay, and I think I could pocket some money actually with the car. So that's even with paying the premium, so I'm pretty good with that. So that's why I think in some scenarios it's okay to pay a premium. I just wouldn't get crazy. Now, on a side note, I looked at, and I have recently looked at, Civic SIs, and even Civic Type Rs, for that matter. Spoke to one dealership in the area where they will get a Civic Si, but they're charging 5 grand over MSRP. And for the Civic Type Rs, they're charging 10 grand over MSRP. Now, some dealerships are doing 10 grand for like Supras, but I feel like, the MSRP of the Civic Type R is like high 30s, right, getting close to 40. Whereas the Supra is about 10 grand more than that, depending on if you're going for the 4-cylinder, the 2.0 or the 3.0. And so I don't like it, and I personally wouldn't pay 10 grand over for any car, but it seems more understandable, if you will, for a Supra as opposed to the Type R in my mind, which is like an amazing car, but I don't think it's at the level of the Supra. I would take a Supra over a Type R. Now, I don't know what they're doing for the new Z, but I would imagine it's something similar as they get their allocations out. I mean, even if you go with the base Model Z without the limited slip and without some of the add-ons, that is at 40 grand, and I imagine there's going to be at least $5,000, if not $10,000 markup on those, which is just crazy in my mind. There was one dealership for a Civic Si that they have on hand now. They're doing like a silent auction or bidding on it. So they're saying, we're going to sell this car in 30 days. We're going to go and basically everyone just submits to us an offer on the car, and the top 3 we're going to contact at the end of this 30-day window, and we're going to figure out who wants to essentially pay the most for it, which is interesting, but I still think it's ridiculous. Like, in my mind, the general rule is cars should sell for what the manufacturer lists it for. I understand the market, but it's like dealerships try and say, well, like one explained it, like if you normally have 6 or 8 apples to sell, and now you only have 2 or 3, well, you're going to have to price it more. And like, no, you don't have to do that. You are choosing to price gouge I guess it could be borrower, but buyers in the market, because you want to make more of a cut on your car. cars. You still have cars and you still have inventory. I understand it's different, but it's not the same. You're intentionally, I mean, dealerships used to sell gap insurance because, you know, as soon as you drive off the lot, you know, you lose depreciation. Well, it's like now you're causing that same scenario for borrowers who are buying a car now by charging these ridiculous markups on cars. And it's hard